Serina's atmosphere following the establishment of its ecosystem was very similar to Earth's, with oxygen at this time making up 24% of the atmosphere. The climate on the moon during this era was more tropical than Earth's currently, and averaged roughly 70 degrees Fahrenheit, or 21 degrees Celsius. The temperature belts of the planet during this period were reduced in comparison to our own, and the tropics extended further both north and south. Only the northernmost and southernmost regions experienced prolonged temperatures below freezing, and unlike Earth, Serina at this time would have no permanent ice caps whatsoever. It would be a warm and mild garden world, ideally designed to accommodate its new children as well as was possible during their establishment upon the world. Lasting from 0 to 10 million years post-establishment, this mild and prosperous era would come to be known as the Hypostecene, the Foundation Era. Serina at this time would be made up predominantly of a single supersized, winding supercontinent known as Cirrus, which would remain together for less than 20 million years before the moon's high level of volcanism split them again. Composed of 5 individual landmasses connected by comparably thin land bridges, which run both north to south and east to west, in a wide arc across the majority of the moon's face, these landmasses were known at this time as Ankiska, Storiata, Stevlandia, Walteria, and Kari. In theory, by walking across them, one could move, without ever crossing the sea, from one pole to the next, though the various landmasses would soon after this era be pulled into increasing isolation. For the eternity of this earliest and most important time span, they would remain attached, permitting a smooth colonization and migration of all introduced fauna to spread out and thrive. "100 centuries have amassed since the day the canaries were released onto their new world. Upwards of 7,000 generations of the songbirds have come and gone. In this time, their world has changed already in large ways. The explosion in diversity in the canary was almost instant. Without predators, their numbers exploded as each pair produced, with luck, 15 or more offspring each year. Food in the form of the seeds of grasses, shoots of flowering plants, and soft-bodied insects fueled an incredible population boom. Already a noticeable diversity of forms has arisen from the multicolored domestic bird imported here 10,000 years ago. Though almost all could likely reproduce with one another if situations required, few still do so given the choice, as one species has split into several hundred. Here on the plains of Ankiska, while plump, solitary individuals colored gray and white crack at the husks of a tall, clumping sunflower's almond-sized seeds, a small, brilliantly red bird gathers in small flocks to strip the shoots not of their seeds, but of the large, fat slugs that gather to rasp at the plant stalks, snapping them from their holdings with a beak already considerably longer and thinner than their ancestors. Hopping haphazardly through the undergrowth, a fumbling, quail-like specimen, several times larger than either bird, hops awkwardly between the stems of grasses and clovers, nipping their tender buds and shoots. Were this 10-inch tall specimen still on Earth, she'd be utterly grounded, her wings having not grown with her body. Thanks to Serina's reduced gravity, she retains the ability to flutter sufficiently to perch in the flower's branches during the eternally twilight nights. But her nest is but a crude gathering of sticks set in plain sight upon the soil. their habitat all but lacking in trees or bushes and nest-raiding small animals. Among the very first habits among many canaries to develop would be the construction of the nest upon the bare ground. Until recently, this would have been as safe a place as ever, so long as the mother could guard her young from the occasional advances of ants. But already a nest robber is evolving. This hen returns from her forages to find her eggs destroyed, the shells crushed and the yolks lapped away. As the thief takes flight and dips down again just meters away in the tall grass, her pointed, downward curved bill is still sticky with her most recent meal. The egg-eating canary, however, has needs of her own to provide for, and has simply discovered a particularly nutritious meal to help her. Nothing is quite so good to help produce eggs than someone else's eggs. A time of naivety is coming to a close. No longer will everyone's young be so infallibly safe. Changes are occurring within habitats now, too. For the first time in its history, Serina is beginning to get its own forests. Within 100 years of colonization, isolated thickets of bamboo, the only native plants to somewhat keep a tree-like growth habit, initially seeded only in the 4 northern temperate zone, began to spread towards the equator. In a natural environment, the growth of these most grand of grasses is kept in check by the presence of other large shading plants. Without the influence of competition, their spread across Serina's sunny, nutrient-rich plains was unstifled. Within 500 years, tracts hundreds of miles in size have spread to reach southern Ankiska. Within 1,000 years, the plants had bridged the equator. Today, bamboo forests extend from pole to pole on every landmass, growing wherever sufficient moisture is present to allow their incredible natural growth rates of up to 34 inches per day. Without large herbivores to browse them, they are a boon to thousands of different insects and invertebrates. Without any competition for these resources, for a brief time it is the gastropods' time to shine. Growing up to 20 inches long and weighing close to 4 pounds, giant land snails become the largest land animals. Their days are numbered, however, as already their young begin to fall prey to the largest build of the ground canaries, which, having evolved their large crushing beaks for a wholly different purpose, begin to put them to other use and seek additional protein to supplement their seed-based diets. Never again will the gastropods flourish, as they will continue for the next 1,000,000 years, foraging at complete leisure in a world where carnivory has yet to catch up to the grazers. This is a brief, fleeting time of prosperity for the snails, but not one that may continue forever. In the waters of Serina, an even greater boom of diversity has been undergone in the live-bearing fishes introduced to a few inland freshwater habitats. Tens of thousands of generations of the fishes have spread across the globe wherever the seasonal rains and rivers could carry them. Without notable predators, they number in the tens of billions, filling every pond and river with life as they gather in shoals of thousands, picking at algae and small invertebrates, with only the occasional crayfish to fear. Crayfish which, equally blessed by the supply of small fishes, may now weigh close to 1 pound. In the open sea, the guppies and swordtails have already adjusted to the high salinity, and for the first and only time in history, gather in swarms with little fear of active predators, in a sea eerily devoid of seabirds, sharks, or larger fishes. The largest sea creature at this time, and one of their only concerns, are the box jellyfish that may grow over 20 feet in length, ensnaring dozens of the tiny fishes each day, far more than they could eat, and making no dent in a still rising population. Moving like strange neon-colored ghosts, the sea slugs lurk below the action, enormous writhing beasts that now grow as large as a man's forearm. Similarly to distant land relatives, these mollusks experience their own brief dominion of the sea, browsing great swaths of coastal algae. One day, more significant predators will infiltrate this temporary marine Eden. But today, it is a land of plenty for all.